Hello there, Monstars. It's Miss Sullivan, and here's our next flip video. In this flip video, we're going to be talking about addition with regrouping. And when we say regrouping, what we mean is we're regrouping either our ones and we're regrouping them to make some tens, or we're regrouping our tens place and to make some hundreds. And we're going to walk through that process. It may sound a little intimidating, but it's okay. We're going to walk through it. And really, it's things that you're pretty familiar with. We just need some extra practice. Okay, previously we learned about place value, and we learned that each digit has a place value in a number. It can be in the ones place, it can be in the tens place, the hundreds place, or even further, we can even go thousands place, 10,000s place, and so on. When we're adding together numbers, place value is pretty important, because when we add, we always start on our right column, which is our ones. And then we go to our tens, and then we add up our hundreds. And sometimes we find that when we're adding numbers together, we end up with double-digit numbers in a place column. And let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, we were taking our number 127 here, and we were adding it to 135. So we'd write our numbers on top of each other, make sure we line up our place values so we don't get confused. And when we start over here in our right column, we see that we have a 7 plus a 5. Think about that math. What is 7 plus 5? Think about it and say it. 12 was the right answer. But if I go to write 12 down here, I know that that's not right, because we learned in our other videos that you can only have a single digit, 0 through 9, in this column. Because if I have a 12 down here and then I keep going and have 2 plus 3 and end up with 5, 1 plus 1 is 2, then that number says that I should have 2,512 when I add together 127 and 135. And that's definitely not reasonable. So we're going to talk about why this is not the right answer and what we should do so that we always end up getting the right answer. In our problem, 127 plus 135, when we added up our ones column, 7 plus 5, we ended up with 12. And we knew that that wasn't right, that we couldn't put 12 down here. Let's talk about what we're going to put down here in our ones place and how we have to regroup to move to our tens column. Think about 127 if you were making 127 using base 10 blocks. You remember doing that in second grade where you had unit cubes and 10 rods and 100 flats and maybe even a thousands block? Think about what 127 would look like in base 10 blocks. Voila! Was this what you were picturing? Remember this from third grade when you broke up a number and you used units for the ones place and rods for the tens place and flats for the hundreds place? This number represents 127. We use units for each one. We use 10 rods for each 10 and 100 flats for each 100. The reason a 10 rod is used for tens is because these are 10 units stacked on top of each other. And the reason we use 100 flats for hundreds is because these are 10 rods laid next to each other, just like you have 10 tens in 100. Now if we move from this picture in our head back to our problem was 127 plus 135. Think about what 135 would look like using our base 10 blocks. Pause the video and draw out what 135 would look like using base 10 blocks. All right, here it is. Here's 135 in base 10 blocks. We have 100 flat, we have 3 10 rods, and we have 5 units. This represents our number 135. Now, you can see why we like to write our numbers that we're adding together in standard form, because if we use base 10 blocks all the time, that would take a really long time. So we're going to think about what happens when we combine these 7 units with our 5 units to get 12. Draw a picture of what 12 units would look like together. Okay. So when you have your 12 units combined, we had 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 before, and now we have 5 that we're combining with it. Well, I know that that equals 12, and I can't put 12 on my ones column as an answer because that's too many digits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to regroup 10 of these digits. I'm going to take 10 away, and I'm going to change that. I'm going to line them up. Make sure I've got 10. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to change that into a tens rod. So I'm regrouping these 10 ones and making it into a tens rod. So now that means I have 2 ones left over, and I can write 2 into my ones column, and I can carry this 10 rods over to my 10 column. So let's review our problem now that we've watched that video. So if we are going to add 7 plus 5 and get 12, we're going to leave 2 ones units, and we're going to carry our new 10 rod over to our tens column. And now when we add up our 10 rods all together, when we have 1 plus 2 plus 3, think about that. That equals 6. And how many hundreds do we have? 1 plus 1? That's going to equal 2. And this looks like a much more reasonable number. That 127 plus 135 equals 262. Now I want you to try the same process we just learned and add together the numbers 229 and 145. Remember, you're going to have to regroup in this column. You're going to take some of your units away, change them into 10 rods. So you're going to have to carry some over here when you add this number together. So I want you to pause the video. When you're ready, hit play and let's talk about it. All right, when we add together this number, we start by looking at the right. Remember, always start at the right. 9 plus 5, think about that answer. You get 14. Now we learned that we can't write 14 down here. No, that's not going to work. We have to take that away. What we have to do with that 14 is we have to think, okay, I'm going to take some of those 14, I'm going to take away a tens rod. What do I have left? Well, I have 4 ones left if I take away a tens rod. And I carry over that tens rod. So now in my tens column, I have 1 plus 2 plus 4. That's how many tens I need to add together. And that equals 1 plus 2 plus 4. Think about it. Say it. It's 7. And when I go to my hundreds column, I have 2 plus 1. Think about it. Say it. The answer is 3. So my total number when I add 229 plus 145 is 374. Let's try another one. Okay, on this problem, once again, you can see that you're going to have to regroup. When you add 6 plus 7 in your ones column, your answer is going to be greater than 10. So you're going to have to regroup. When you add this together, hit pause and push play when you're ready. Okay, when we add this together, we see that in our ones column we have 6 plus 7. The answer is going to be what? 13. I'm going to have to take that 13, since it's a 2-digit number, and I'm going to have to trade out 10 units for one 10 rod. So when I take away 10, that leaves me with 3 units. I move my 10 rod over to my tens column, and when I add up my tens, 1 plus 2 plus 5, I get an answer of, think about it, 8. And my final column, my hundreds column, 4 plus 2, the answer is, you're right, 6. So 426 plus 257, the answer is 683. Okay, let's look at this problem. This problem, when I add up my ones, I have 3 plus 0. What is 3 plus 0? Think about it. Say it. The answer is 3. I have no tens that I need to regroup in 3 plus 0. That's a single digit number. I can write that down. So I just am going to add that like normal. When I go to my tens column, however, I have 9 plus 4. And 9 plus 4 equals, think about it, say it. Well, the same rules apply. It's 13. I can't write 13 in my tens column because that's a 2-digit number. Just like when we had to regroup in our ones column, we also may have to regroup in our tens column, sometimes even in our hundreds column, and so on. If ever you add and you get a 2-digit number, you're going to have to regroup. Let's think about how we regroup in our tens column. If we have 9 plus 4, that gives us 13 tens. Well, how many tens does it take to get to 100? It takes 10 tens to get to 100. So if I take away 10 tens from my number 13 when I add these together, I'm going to follow the same process. I'm going to trade out 10 tens, and I'm going to change that to 100 flat, and I'm going to leave 3 tens behind. When I add up my hundreds now, I have 1 plus 4 plus 200, and that's going to equal 7. So don't be confused if you find that you have to regroup in the tens column or if you have to regroup in the hundreds column. The same rules apply. If it's a 2-digit number in the column, you're going to have to regroup. Let's try a problem together. In this problem, we have 561 plus 245. When I add my ones column, 1 plus 5, I get 6. Well, that's a single-digit number. I don't need to regroup. So then I'm going to move to my tens column of 6 plus 4. When I add 6 plus 4 together, that equals 10. Well, I can't write 10 down here. That's a 2-digit number. So I'm going to have to regroup and change my 10 into 100 flat, leaving me 0 tens behind and 100 flat in my next column. 1 plus 5 plus 2, when I add that together, equals 8. So 561 plus 245 equals 806. Okay, on this slide, I've given you 2 problems. I want you to write these down and then pause the video. And when you're ready, I want you to hit play and let's talk about what you came up with. Okay, my first problem, over here, 207 plus 329. When I add those together, in my ones column I have 7 plus 9, which equals 16. I have to regroup. That leaves 6 units behind and 1 10 rod in my tens column. When I add 1 plus 0 plus 2, I end up with 3, single-digit number. I don't need to regroup. I go to my hundreds column, 2 plus 3 equals 5. So my final answer is 536, which seems reasonable because okay, let's move to our second problem, which is 591 plus 156. When I add my ones column, I have 1 plus 6, which equals 7. It's a single-digit number, so I do not need to regroup. When I look at my tens column, I have 9 plus 5. That equals 14, 2-digit number. So I'm going to have to regroup my 14s. I'm going to change my tens into 100 flat. I'm going to take away 10 tens, change that into 100 flat, move that to my hundreds column, and that leaves 4 tens behind. Then when I add up my hundreds column, 1 plus 5 plus 1 equals 7. So 747 is my answer on this problem. Okay, I'm giving you 2 more practice problems. I want you to hit pause and work these on your own. Push play when you're ready. It's 293 plus 48. Make sure you line up your place values. And then this number is 508. Zoe tried to help me with the 8 a little bit. It's 508 plus 233. Push play when you're ready. All right, when we added them together, 3 plus 8 was 11. I know I'm going to have to regroup, and that leaves 1 unit behind. I carry over my tens rod. 1 plus 9 plus 4. Uh-oh. 1 plus 9 is 10 plus 4 is 14. I'm going to have to regroup again, leaving 4 10 rods behind and regrouping as 100 flat. Now when I have 1 plus 2, I get 341. That was a tough one. You had to regroup twice on that problem. Moving over to my next problem, 8 plus 3 equals 11. Again, I'm going to put down my 1, carry over my 10 rod. 1 plus 0 plus 3 equals 4. I do not need to regroup in this column. 5 plus 2 equals 7. Okay, and our final slide today is a challenge problem. I'd like you to rewrite this problem, try to solve it, and then ask someone at home to check you to make sure that you did it correctly. Be sure to line up your ones, your tens, your hundreds, your thousands, and your 10,000s. Make sure that they're lined up so when you add together correctly. And as always, here's your joke. What do you call a pig that knows karate? What do you call a pig that knows karate? Make sure that you complete that whisk and bring it in when it's due. I hope you all have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.